Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on 9 News Watch. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi in the very, very windy 9 News backyard. We're going to just focus in on that wind, how crazy it is, when things get better, and also just how strong those winds have been for so far today. I can tell you here in the 9 News backyard, and we're of course right here in downtown Denver at Logan Spear, those winds over the last really half hour or so really kind of cranked into gear. And a lot of you may have noticed that we had that lull. We had that crazy squall with the rainbows and the rain and the little ice and even in some cases some snow move its way through the metro area. Then we had that lull for about an hour, hour and a half. And I think, I don't know, anecdotally, based on some of the comments and questions I got, I think a lot of us were maybe lulled to sleep by that and saying, oh, that was it? Okay, so we had that weird band. Well, no, this is the real event here, folks. This, what we're seeing right now, this is the real deal, and in fact, we've already had a wind gust up to 104 miles an hour in Broomfield. The Air Force Academy on the north side of Colorado Springs had a 91 mile an hour wind gust. Again, 91. That is the strongest wind gust ever recorded there out at the Air Force Academy. Now, the worst of the wind will be between now and 5 o'clock. So we're in the thick of it. We've got about 4, 5, 6 hours or so to go of this, and then things will get better. They'll get better really quickly once the sun goes down. So that's the good news. We don't have too much more of this to go. Now, those winds, though, they're going to be nasty. I mentioned 100-plus mile an hour wind gusts. As I mentioned, we've already seen some of those gusts here in Denver, and I'll show you this in a bit more detail in just a second. They're going to really vary from the east side of the city to the west side of the city. As we got a nice little gust, you can probably hear that right now here at the 9 News backyard. East side of the city, 225. The airport, kind of Montbello, even Central Park. Again, we're probably going to top out 60, 65 miles an hour. 80 miles an hour once you get from I-25 on west. So that would be, again, the west side of the city, certainly Wheat Ridge, Lakewood, and certainly once you get into Arvada, you're starting to get into that 100 mile an hour territory. So again, this is a real deal wind event. Want to emphasize that over the next little while. And by the way, the difference between 60 and 80 mile an hour winds is substantial. It's about double the power. So when we've got an 80 mile an hour wind gust in the west side of town, you are way more likely to be looking at power outages and more substantial impacts. And everyone needs to be taking this seriously, but again, especially I-25 on west, that for me is the biggest concern point. Now, those wind reports so far today, Lamar in southeast Colorado, how about that? At 8:42 this morning, recorded an 107 mile an hour wind gust, and that, needless to say, is kicking up all sorts of dust for our friends in southeast Colorado. So for those of you joining us from Springfield, Kim, La Junta, Lamar, certainly have not forgotten about you. I'm certainly thinking about you guys out that way because I know you guys are dealing with all sorts of dust. It is a real mess out there in southeast Colorado, really throughout the eastern plains. You're getting a lot of that dust right now. In Denver, we're going to see some of that, but probably not as bad as our friends in southeast Colorado. Broomfield, as I mentioned, at the Rocky Mountain Airport, an 104.5 mile an hour wind gust that was recorded within the last hour. Boulder, 91 mile an hour wind gust at the National Center for Renewable Energy, NREL out there, seeing a 91 mile an hour wind gust. At DIA, our peak gust came through at about 8:53 this morning, 60 miles an hour. We did just get up to about 47 miles an hour. And by the way, if you got a flight book today, forget about it on a number of different angles. I've been kind of tweeting about this a lot this morning, but we're seeing a lot of reports of significant or extreme air turbulence coming in or out of the airport, and that's for people who are able to get out or get in. We're seeing very little air traffic coming in or out of DIA right now. I just took a look about 5 minutes ago at the flight map, and again, we're seeing maybe 2, 3 planes getting out over the last 15, 20 minutes, which tells us that there's very, very little air traffic right now. DIA only has 2 east-west runways, which makes it very difficult with a very strong westerly wind event like this. So long story short, DIA, if you're able to get out today, you're going to have a significant delay. And if you are going to be flying, by the way, strap in your seat because it is going to be a really, really, really bumpy ride. Now, wind gusts right now, as mentioned, southeast Colorado, really kind of feeling the thick of it. Denver, again, DIA, because our official observation site's on the east side of the city, we're going to see less wind gusts officially in Denver, though we've already peaked out at 60 miles an hour. It's nothing to scoff at. Those current wind gusts, though, Broomfield right now at 84 miles an hour. So those winds are just ripping on the west side of the city. And again, here in downtown, we're feeling it as well. If you haven't already, I'm going to go through some more tips here in just a second. If you haven't cleared off anything out of the yard or the porch, do it now. Otherwise, if you haven't taken down your inflatable Santa already. It's probably already in Lyman. So, but if somehow Santa's hung on, now is the time to bring it inside. I'm serious about that here, folks. This is we see wind all the time here in Colorado. What we're seeing today, and the thing I've been trying to harp for the last 2 days, is this is a once every couple of years kind of a wind event for us. So we just don't see this all the time. All right. Let's get through that forecast, walk you through the next couple of hours, right? Because it's going to be pretty critical between now and 5 o'clock, and probably those winds accelerate a little bit. We're probably going to see those winds get a little bit stronger over the next 2 to 3 hours or so. So those wind gusts, look at that in Golden. I mean, look at this is what our forecast model is picking up at about 3:30. We're going to be talking about wind gusts at or near 100 miles an hour on the west side of the metro area, and that includes, by the way, Boulder. That certainly includes the foothills. Boulder, Arvada, Golden, that Highway 93 corridor is going to be feeling the thick of it here over the next little while. So those are the areas that are going to be feeling the strongest of those winds. But the good news is, as I mentioned, it's not all doom and gloom here, folks. We hang on for the next 5 hours or so, and things will get better. By the time we get to 6 o'clock tonight, yes, we're still seeing some pretty gusty winds into the foothills, but we're talking about 40, 50 miles an hour. That's a lot more manageable than 70, 80, 90, 100 mile an hour winds like what we're looking at over the course of the next few hours. Those winds do hang around through the night and into tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow going to be kind of a high fire danger day for us here into Colorado, but certainly the focus right now is on the high wind warning that's in place from the Continental Divide on east, all of eastern Colorado, including, of course, Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Trinidad. You are all included within that high wind warning that goes until 5 p.m. today. Again, once that sun goes down, things will get better quickly. So there's not that much more to go, but the next, again, 4 or 5 hours, don't be surprised if you lose power. So that's why one of those things I'm listing right now, what you can do right now, I know you're probably hearing the winds rattle right now. Hey, you know what? You're working from home, or you're just at home right now, or you're in the office. Make sure your phone's charged or your laptop is plugged in. Just make sure those sorts of things are plugged in today. You know what? I probably should have my phone on me right now, and I probably should plug that in. I'm at 75%. I should get that thing up to 100 right now. If your phone's at 75% like me, don't be me, and make sure your phone's plugged in, and make sure it's 100%, because you really, especially in the west side of the city, I'm pretty concerned that we're going to see some pretty widespread power outages today. When we're getting winds this strong for this long, this is unfortunately something. I know we've already got some power outages that are in place, so just keep that in mind. Today is not the day. If you can avoid driving altogether, you're going to want to do that, because we're going to be having down trees, down branches, and things like that. And so today is not the day to be outside at all, if at all possible. But if you do have to head outside, don't use the Sprinter van, obviously, or don't use the Jeep Wrangler. My fiance's got a Jeep Wrangler, and I tell her, you know, she was saying, you can take my Jeep Wrangler into work today. I said, I'm going to take the smaller car into work today, because those Jeep Wranglers, they're a bit taller. They can take more of that wind on. They're more likely to be blown on over. I know that on I-25 out by Colorado Springs, we've got semis turned over. I-70 up by Georgetown, there are semis pulled over to the side of the roadway there because of the strong winds. So again, today is obviously not the day to be doing that. And bring aside those holiday ornaments. If you haven't brought them in, again, they're probably in Lyman right now. So it's probably a little bit too late. But you know what? If somehow those things have hung on and they're maybe hanging in there, you can see that, now's the time. Just run outside, bring it in. But again, be safe about it. By the way, if you are taking videos or photos or anything like that, we would certainly appreciate them here at 9 News. But please be safe about it. Today's not the day to be taking the video. You should never be driving and taking a video, but especially today when we're going to have, again, tumbleweeds, dust, reduced visibility, and again, down branches. And it's going to be, unfortunately, a very unpleasant day to drive around or really do anything outside for the next 4 or 5 hours. But again, the good news, and not to be Mr. Doom and Gloom about this, is this will get better very quickly over the course of the next few hours. So not that much more to go. All right, from there to the mountains, where we do have quite a bit of action up that way, especially earlier on this morning. Once that snow squall moved this way on through, we had closures at I-70. I know we've still got probably some closures up there into the mountains right now. We've seen some pretty heavy snow at times. That snow is mostly starting to fizzle on out, but closer look in here at the metro area. Denver, our rain snow is done for today. We're not going to see anything more than what we've already seen. But you get up into the mountains, especially into the northern Front Range, up by Rocky Mountain National Park, there will be more snow. And we'll take that because we certainly do need the moisture here in Colorado, whether it comes in rain, whether it comes in mountain snow. We'll take whatever drop or flake that Mother Nature is willing to give us. I haven't even shown you a temperature map. You know why? Because the temperature doesn't matter. The air temperature doesn't matter today. When it's windy, as you can hear, thank you for the exclamation point there, Mother Nature. I'll let that one move its way on through. That's a nice little gust there. I'm guessing we probably got that's probably a good 40, 45 mile an hour gust we just got there. When it's 46 degrees outside, but you've got wind gusts at 60 to 80 miles an hour, that air temperature really doesn't matter. This is a Bora wind event. Let's get a little nerdy about this for a quick second. When we're talking about a Bora wind event, woo, that was a nice one. That was a good 50 mile an hour wind gust. When we get a Bora wind event like the one we're seeing right now, that means we're getting a cold air that's being brushed down into the front range. So this is a very cold wind. So I showed you that air temperature. It doesn't matter. It's going to probably feel like it's in the 20s and 30s all day long. That's something in my eye there. Sorry about that. But again, this is a Bora wind event. If you're a weather nerd, you know what that is. If you're not, which is pretty much everybody I'm sure watching, which is totally fine. You don't need to know what a Bora wind event is. Again, this is a cold wind source. Sometimes when it's really windy, right, like especially in the middle of the winter, it's usually a warm wind. Normally when it's windy this time of year, it's a warm wind, but we're getting this source from a very cold upper level air mass, and that's what's leading to this, again, very chilly air mass that's in place, and that's why, again, it's a very cold wind for your day today, 46 degrees. Now, in terms of that snow, it'll wind on down along with the winds tonight. We'll see a few leftover snow showers. We do get a weak system drops away on through on Friday. That'll lead to more of those light snow showers from I-70 on north into your Friday morning. But again, all focus right now on the wind. Let's go back here to, in fact, let's go back a couple graphics to show you that high wind warning once again, but also want to show you this, how to prepare for those strong winds. And it's really those bottom two things you got to focus right now on. It's just don't drive a high profile vehicle. Also, I haven't mentioned the fire danger. It is very high today here in Colorado. When we've got winds like this, if you are a smoker, today is not the day to be doing that outside. Make sure that you are just very, very careful with anything that has a spark outdoors, because anything, when we got, it's a very dry air mass as well today. It's very dry. Yes, it's cold, but you don't necessarily need to have warm temperatures to create wildfires. When you got wind gusts this strong, unfortunately, especially for our friends in southeast Colorado, I'm really concerned about the fire danger out there for your day today. In some cases, we may be looking at critical or extreme fire danger for your day today. So avoid anything with an outdoor spark. Charge those phones. Keep that laptop plugged in. And again, don't drive that high-profile vehicle. And don't drive at all, honestly, today. It's that windy. Just want to be inside. Maybe put on that... well, have us on here at 9 News throughout the course of the day. And if not, maybe have one of those warm fire thingies in the background and get into that holiday spirit. So hopefully that's giving you a bit of a good overview. We've got a few more hours to go. Those winds will be really, really strong. I mean, they're strong right now. They're going to be really strong for the next few hours. They probably pick up a little bit before it gets better. Or if you think it's strong right now, it's probably going to be adding a little bit to this over the next 2-3 hours or so. Then things get better mid to certainly late afternoon. By 3-4 o'clock, those winds start to back off a little bit, and by 5 o'clock, the worst of it will be over and done with. So not that much more to go. Be safe, everybody. I hope this has given you a pretty good insight about what we've had so far here today. And by the way, I'll be on at 9 News at noon, and Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sagan will be on at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News family of networks. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Watch. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day.